shop for summer clothes. Think pink, pink, pink if you want that kelp for shows. Red is dead, blue is through, green's obscene, brown's taboo, and there is not the slightest excuse for plum abuse or chartreuse.
G'day, gorgeous. So I've been thinking this week about what it was I was going to speak to you about, and I've decided to talk about relationships and when people cheat. And it's really interesting when this comes up with my clients or my girlfriends. It comes up all the time about how men cheat and women don't cheat, but as we know, some women do cheat. So it's kind of like, well, why do people cheat? The majority of the reason for why is often because they're very unhappy in the relationship that they're in. And if we go back to an old proverb I like to refer to, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Sometimes it's just easier to maintain a relationship even though you're unhappy than it is to try and sort of get out of all of that and move on. And some people just feel like they don't have the energy to get out and move on. The difficulty, of course, is that it breaches a whole bunch of trust issues, and it would be so much easier if people just decided that, you know what, I'm unhappy. I don't want to be in this relationship anymore, or I'm unhappy. How about we go and see if we can sort it out? I always say to couples who come in, you know what, you need two people in this room who are committed to actually making this work, and if you're not both committed to making it work, then forget it, because it's never going to work. The reality of any situation is if somebody is unhappy, they really should turn around and go to their partner and say, you know what, I'm unhappy, can we work this out? Or you know what, I'm unhappy, I'm out of here. But invariably what happens is they stay and they sit in their misery with their partner, making their partner miserable. You're both making each other miserable, let's face it. And sorry, hay fever season, I still have watery eyes. And then, you know, in their unhappiness, they usually expose themselves to opportunities that come their way. They suddenly find themselves in bed with somebody else, and then they kind of go, oh shit, now what am I going to do? Either this person that they've found themselves in bed with is this wonderful human being and they decide that they want to run away from them, or want to run away from the relationship that they're in and run off with this person, or it makes them stop and go, uh-oh, maybe this is indicative of something bigger, and maybe this is indicative that somewhere along the line I probably need to have a conversation. Unfortunately, what usually happens is they go, uh-oh, this is indicative of something bad, but I'm too scared to actually highlight how I feel or what I did for fear now that this is going to actually mean the end of my relationship. And in reality, eventually it usually comes out. Trust is broken, there's a whole bunch of issues. I often get people say to me, can a relationship survive a breach of trust from infidelity? And the reality is, yes, it can. But you actually, again, have to have two people 100% committed to making it work. And the problem is that you usually find that you don't have two people who are 100% committed. So how do we then deal with moving forward when you've got this breach of trust? Because the breach of trust is a massive problem, and it can kind of overshadow you and really impact how you see relationships going forward. The amount of my girlfriends who turn around and say to me, that's it, never, ever, ever am I going to have another relationship again because I can't trust all men. It's unrealistic. It's not all men. It is some men, and there are some men who are serial at it, but there are some men who just don't know how to say that they're unhappy, don't know how to get out of a relationship, want to still maintain good relationships with their children, or there's a range of reasons why people stay and continue to have an affair or continue to be serial, people who serially have affairs. I think it's unfair to turn around and label all men as cheaters, or in fact, even if you've been on the other side of the fence, because it's not just men who cheat, that all women are cheaters. In reality, what tends to happen is unhappy people go looking elsewhere to find happiness for themselves, and invariably that's in an emotional connection that often ends up in sex. That's it. That's the reality. Does that make them horrible human beings? I think it makes them people who make rash decisions at the last moment, often induced by alcohol. But does that make them bad people? No, I don't think so. Usually what happens is it's the fallout. It's how they handle it from there that is the problem. And usually it's in how they handle it that causes the massive breach of trust and can lead to the demise of many relationships that are actually, on the whole, quite good relationships. Let's face it, an intimate relationship is nothing really more than a mutual, goal-oriented business relationship in which you both have same outcomes and goals that you want for yourselves as a couple. You bring children into that mix with an understanding about how it is that you will raise them. And when business relationships go wrong, we get out of our contract and we get away from that person. If you've got children, you can't just walk away from them. So, food for thought. It's not, I'm not saying I have the answer to all of it. I just felt the need to kind of give you some insight into why people cheat. Okay, gorgeous. I hope it's not happening in your house. I don't want to imply that in any way it might. But you know what? If you're unhappy in your relationship, it's a really good opportunity to turn around and have a conversation with your partner about how you can fix that. Because trust me, it's better for your children and it's better for you two as a couple to try and resolve the issues that you have between you than to battle it out in the family court and line lawyers' pockets. Okay, have a great week, gorgeous. I'll see you soon.
Pink for cheeks and pink at your lips, pink for shirts and all of your slips, just a touch of pink at your knees, and if you please,
What?
pink chemise.